What is going on, beautiful people? Welcome back. Super excited for today's episode of the Blu-XPerience podcast. Got the homie XP72 here on my right, and I am Blue Games. Today's episode is all about Fly-by-Wire. And XP, what are you excited to talk about? I mean, what?
Is my brain right now is fried with just the different questions that I have in my head to talk to this team here. But as you guys know, man, Fly-by-Wire to me is like the premier Microsoft developer, team. It's crazy what they've already brought to the game and what they're about to bring to the game. Just to say that they've gotten me excited about a plane that I had no interest in real life, and I've seen what they've done so far with this plane that's coming out, and I'm telling you, man, I'm so excited to talk to you guys. So without further ado, Blue, let's introduce the team, man. Let's get going.
Yes, so we did a video talking about our first reactions of the A380 project from Fly-by-Wire, but now we have the opportunity to talk one-on-one or two-on-three with three members of the Fly-by-Wire team. Please introduce yourself, starting with Repsol.
Hello, my name is Repsol, and I'm mainly doing modeling, also texturing, or helping out Mike with the textures. And I'm from Germany, and I'm with Fly-by-Wire since I think November 2020. It should be.
And what about you, Davey?
Hey, so I'm Davy. I'm in France. I'm working mainly on stuff you never notice, like the systems, like the hydraulics, how they move the flight controls, and some other like exotic things like engine that is wobbling, stuff like that.
Cool. And lastly, Mike, tell us who you are.
Hey, I'm Mike. I do the textures, and I'm in Chicago, in Illinois, in the great United States. Yep, you've heard my voice before on the video. I have read, a majority of the comments there. It was 3 a.m. when I was doing that recording, just before I left for work. So,
Wow.
yep. So we're all very happy to be here, and yeah, thanks so much for having us and for having some questions and for the interest.
Let me just say, I'm glad you did a recording at 3 a.m. because the voice was perfect. I wouldn't have had it any other way. But
That's good. Thank you.
real quick, we got Texas, Chicago, Florida, France, and Germany in the house. This is what flight simming is all about. I'm loving it. Loving you guys. Thank you guys for being on the show, man. We absolutely appreciate you guys being here and just sharing all the information that you can so far with us and with the world, and what to expect with the A380.
I know you guys been working with the Fly-by-Wire team for a while, and what are you most excited about?
So I think I will start with this question. So for me, the most exciting thing is to actually learn how all this stuff is working. For me, when I was starting with Fly-by-Wire, I didn't even know how to export something and to bring it into the sim and let it look how I want. And all of this stuff I really learned during the journey I had together with the team of Fly-by-Wire. And you are able to learn so much about so many things because you have a lot of people who have knowledge which you never would think about. And for me, this is the most exciting thing when developing together with Fly-by-Wire, because it sometimes feels like nothing is impossible. You need this. Okay, we maybe can think about to get this. It's really amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. That is good, man. And Davey?
Yes, it's hard to tell. It's it's a lot of reasons, but I'd say what is really exciting is trying to provide something that is really like perfectly realistic, like more realistic than everything I ever tried in a sim.
Mm.
So that said, it's really difficult, but to have that as the real aim, to have everything working like on the real plane, it's really something that makes me pushing on this project, because I just came first. I just came because it was like an accident. I just felt, oh, that plane is nice, but there's nothing like hydraulics really simulated. And instead of just saying, oh guys, when hydraulics, well, I just joined and made them. So that's
Wow.
what's really cool about that project is if you need something, then you can ask, but you can do it as well and join people that will help you to learn stuff that you need to get in, and so you can always been helped and help other people, and all in all, it's just a super journey, you know.
Good to go. That's awesome. And Mike, Mr. Voice himself.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm just most excited for the collaboration, the future collaboration between everyone in the community on this airplane. Seeing how that all pans out in terms of folks getting this plane in VAT sim and having a majority of the airplanes probably being A380s flying around is not going to be helpful for air traffic controllers, but it will still be fun to see. And, various future interactions that we'll have with other flight sim development groups. Looking forward to working with other groups and other people as time goes on. Um, Things like people like Navigraph, if we need to speak with them, or more interaction with Asobo. Um, this I'm looking forward the most to seeing how the community reacts to the airplane.
Wow. Wow.
So
I mean, community reaction, I can say when the last video that you guys dropped, I mean, I was saying it earlier that I wasn't into the A380 as an airplane in real life per se. It's a wonderful technological advancement, I think, but it's okay. I saw the video that you guys put out and I goes, wow, I have to fly this plane. It drew me to it. And I think part of it, not only just because of the graphics and what's going to be included, but the way you presented it gave the airplane to me a soul. Like, you know, and the question I have is, twofold. Approximately how big is your team working on the A380? And how do you guys bring everybody together? You described each person doing the different parts of it, but how do you guys work together? And how big is the team, would you say, approximately?
So at the moment, I think it's really difficult to say, yeah, the team has 20 members or so, because everybody who wants to help us is helping us out. So I would say at the moment actively 20 to 30 people. And for the coordination and everything, it's more or less like that everybody is self-coordinating himself. It's not like this that we say, okay, you have to do this one, you have to do this one, and you have to do this one. No, it's more or less like if someone wants to make something, he is saying, okay, I want to work on this. And from there on, he will work on this just as his motivation is there. It's not like this that the people have a deadline or anything. For us, it's more or less like you're driven by your own motivation. If you want to come and to help with just a single part, hey, you're really welcomed to help us. And everybody is doing it like this. So it's really sometimes crazy that you think about, okay, there are all these little lemmings working on this and this and this, but it's looking so uncoordinated. But in the end, it's coordinated because we are developing step by step, and the people see, okay, we need this one. Okay, I will start with this one to help out you because you would need this for your next development step. So it's really fantastic.
Interesting. So, is there ever a situation where there may be like a hole or a gap in, like where like no one has decided to take on the role of doing a certain piece that might be essential to the aircraft?
Oh yeah, this was our 4-engine thing,
Hmm.
because in the beginning we were starting with a base which was kinda the 320, to
Right.
just being able to have something in the sim to see how, especially for me, to see with the modeling and with the animations if this is working properly. And then we had a point where we had to need 4 engines, but the problem was when we were starting with this, we had kind of 320 on steroids because it had 4 engines. And then the next step was the steroid plus version, because then the engines were being the real 380 engines, but the aircraft still had the weight of a 320. So this was really kind of a rocket.
Yeah, that's funny.
4 A380 engines. Wow.
We need you to release that version too. Oh man, that's funny.
And as far as the hydraulics are concerned, I think that's what Debbie was working on. I mean, it's one of those things that as a flight simmer, you really don't think about it being modeled. But when you actually have it in an airplane that works effectively, it's good to have. And so when you saw that was missing, Davey, were you already programming hydraulics for other airplanes? What were you doing before you jumped on the team?
Oh, no, not at all. I was just enjoying like flight sims from time to time, but nothing about like development of anything like that. So it was just pure, I'd say, chance that I just came here and starting developing those. I'm just an engineer in like real-time systems, and I had nothing to do with planes and such. But I know one or two stuff about coding. I know one or two stuff about like physics. So well, I decided to try, and here we are. It works.
So I was gonna ask on the
Olaf?
sorry. I was gonna ask on the hydraulics part, because I don't know a lot about hydraulics or engineering and stuff like that. So what challenges have you faced trying to, I guess, develop the hydraulic systems for the A380 in Microsoft Flight Sim?
Well, it's not really like A380 problems, like because it was developed for the A320, and so it's just like a core developed, a simulation of hydraulics that then can be just adapted to the A380 architecture. So, well, the first thing you have to do is to do something that is scalable and can be changed in its architecture, even if you are only working for the A320. So I try to have something like as realistic as possible, and like trying to have everything like organic, like it has a PTU with an organic feel. It's not just like if you have more than 500 psi different, then no, it's more like every part is model and moves, and it will never move the same because there is part of randomness in this. And so the challenge was to make this like just a core based that you can put on any aircraft. And so obviously the A380 is such different and such advanced that there were things that were to be adapted, but it was just like assembling Lego, some new parts added, some new possibilities, because there are a lot of pumps in here. So it was just more about adapting what was already on the A320 than just creating a new thing again. And it's nice. It's true for other parts as well. We can rely on things that are scalable and can be adapted. That's the strength we develop with the A320, and that's something really cool because we can just adapt things and put them on the A380.
So, how deeply or how deep is the simulation, or at least the goal of the simulation for the hydraulics going to be? Like, is it like I'm not sure how to even ask that exactly, but you know what I'm saying? How deep
I'm
are
not
you
sure how to
going?
respond to this either, because yeah, you can spend your life and in the end having nothing because you push too hard towards something like it's just like real life. You can simulate like the particle of the flow and everything that and you will never do anything. So you have to put a limit somewhere. But still, what we tried to do is not having a limit that is like looking like what was already done in the market and in other flight sims. So the idea was to push more and more. Yet, should it be possible to do it? So there was like some back and forth movement between like, yeah, I've gone too far. Oh, it's nice this way. So the main challenge is to decide where is the limit. Because then when you put the limit on the realism, then it's harder to push it like even further, because you would have to do too much changes because you decided already on the lower architecture. So I don't want to go too deep in the details, but yeah. So we try to have something really purely simulated. Like we don't want to have something like if there is pressure, then something happens. It's just not like this. It's just more organic. So we simulate really physically things. Like, yeah, I could speak for hours about this. So I'm sorry, guys.
I mean, you've been working for a couple of years on it.
And that's my question. I guess the overall question is like, how do you guys know when you're done? This is done. I'm not going to go anymore, or this is good enough to release. Say, for instance, the graphics. That's one key thing that everybody seems to love to criticize from developers is graphics, the sound, the flight model. How do you guys know when you're done? Like, Davey, how do you know when you are done with the graphic part of it? Like, or Mike, I should say. How do you know when you're done with your graphics? What do you aim for?
Well, it's never done. Honestly, it's just always being improved on. To answer your question, in generally, we have an idea for a version 1 release, what is needed. So, and when those parameters are met, then we'll consider, taking it, releasing it publicly. But in terms of our own individual respective areas of work, that's really up to the person to decide when it's done. It's up to Davey to tell me, hey, hydraulics are done.
Never done.
Or, in his case, never done. It's up to Repsol to tell me, okay, the exterior engine pylon is done. Here's the FBX file. Go ahead and texture it. It's left up to the professional thoughts and opinion of the person working on it. And that's how it's been on the A320, and that's how it is on the A380. And there's no time frame and no rush to getting this done. There are no corners being cut on the A380. There are no corners. Like there's no shortcuts. And I don't just show up to fly-by-wire. I've been a part of other development groups before, other flight simulator dev groups where corners have been cut, and I'm not a fan. But here it's different because there's no time limit. It's really interesting to see what kind of limits we can push. I mean, with hydraulics, it's insane. It's quite insane, honestly, because the drooping effect of flight controls is it's not programmed. Okay, the airplane engines are off. Quickly put the ailerons down, or put the rudders off to one side. It's not. It's actually going to one side or drooping because it's physically simulated, and that's really crazy and interesting to have in Flight Simulator. So yeah, to answer your question just briefly, it would just be it's left up to the individual people to determine when their respective systems are done, and when it meets our requirements for a version 1 release, then we should be good to go.
What are some things, and anybody can answer this, but what are some, like, maybe some small, intricate details that someone wouldn't necessarily know to look for or recognize? You
Oh,
know what I'm
there's
trying to say?
many
Like something that
with
sets you
textures.
guys apart from like what else is out there in the community.
When I just think about, for example, animations, um, we have some really unnecessary animations you actually don't need, but you have it inside. So, for example, when you have the armrest and you look on the armrest, you have the upper row with A, C, E, G, K, and the lower row with 1 till 9, so you can adjust your armrest.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember these configuration, and in every aircraft you are going and you put this configuration, you have the same rest of your arm.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
something like this we also have, so you can adjust the armrest to your desired position. It will stay there. And this is normally something for the sim or for the simming, you don't need it.
Yeah. Let
But
me
for
just
me,
explain. Yeah, let me explain to the audience out there, if you guys don't know what he's talking about. So in the Airbus, part of the system that they have is that when you go into any Airbus plane that you are certified to fly, it doesn't matter who was flying before and where they left the chair or the seat or whatever, you have your own set numbers and letters that you dial in every time, and it gives you exactly what you did or where your sitting position is and your armrest position was from the previous plane and the previous plane and the previous plane.
I didn't know that.
So, oh yes, absolutely. So you're saying that you modeled the armrest, seat height, and seat position in the A380. Wow, that is
yes,
crazy.
exactly. So
That's crazy.
What are I guess I'll ask it, resources that you use to come up with this? I'm still trying to figure out, how you guys get your texturing to look so good in the A320 and now the A380. Like, what would you say it is in a layman description? How do you get the texturing to look so good?
Lots of time, and very strict adherence to a 1-to-1 resolution scale of everything that I described. A lot of trial and error and a lot of experience in texturing stuff for Flight Simulator, because I've done a lot of texture mods for other airplanes and other sims. Many mods for X-Plane, 11, and then in this simulator, I did the A320 textures, which went through multiple iterations, which is me learning basically multiple different times what to do and what not to do. And then with the main difference between the A320 and the A380 is that this is our model. So we
Right.
are able to make the UVs ourselves. Now, the UV map of every object has a UV map, and the UV map determines the resolution of that texture that's on the object. Okay, so the UV map is very important. And if it's not done correctly, like it was for a majority of the A320, then, in our opinion, then the look of the airplane will suffer as a result of that. So with this one, we're able to make our own UVs and be very particular with everything. And that's why it looks the way it does. And also, I know how to texture stuff with photorealism in Substance Painter, so that helps.
That's great.
Nice.
I was gonna say that I feel like Fly-by-Wire is really showing their strength with the A380. Like the A320,
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
guys obviously have done amazing things to it. I mean, we were looking at the map, and there's literally, as we're recording this, at least 800 people flying in the air right now in the Fly-by-Wire A320 Neo. But with With the A380 though, you don't have any like restrictions. With the fly-by-wire, I feel like you guys, are restricted because you're still using, a Sobo's model, at least at the current version. And so, like you said, being able to have fully control over the textures of the UV map, things like that, allows you to really flaunt your
Yeah.
strength and what you've learned in the sim
Yeah,
and really
and
push
there's
it.
absolutely, yep. And in the case of the A380, it's not just what we have learned, it's it's our own model. So a lot of trial and error. Like many times we have exported, Rep has probably exported from Blender into the sim, which is a 30-minute process, probably 500 plus times now,
Wow.
at
No
least.
more.
More, yeah, okay. So it takes a long time to export, to take what you have in Blender and move it into the sim, and Rep has done it multiple times. And each time we're experimenting with something, um, like for the decals, how do we not have the decals start flickering when your zoom level is all the way out?
Right.
Well, let's figure out the alpha blend modes of the decals, and let's try every single setting that Blender possibly has and export it every single time and see what it looks like. And eventually we get it to look correct. So,
Yep.
and then in terms of the details, I mean, yeah, there are so many, it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Or for example, when we are going in the nighttime, you have some chipping of paint somewhere, and then when you look on this
Right.
panel, you see how it's glowing here, and then you just turn off the light, going away, because the light distribution inside this panel, it's hitting via the transparent acrylic light, the white, and normally underneath everything is lit up by this light.
So you're
And there
teaching me
also,
something new here. I don't mean to cut
It's
you. So basically, it's a clear acrylic panel which is painted over with the gray, and then they engrave out the sections that the light can come through. But if you chip
yes,
it, you will also see light bleed from the
yes,
chipping of it.
yes,
yes.
exactly.
And Rep and I had
Wow.
a very long discussion on how we can get this to look correct in the sim. In addition, um, the light is going to be a different color than the rest of the decal lights because the chipping is done at a different length into the panel than the other decals, which is a more controlled amount. So the color has to be different as well, and the color has to change in intensity as you raise and lower the intag light.
Wow.
Yeah, it gets a little crazy the amount of
Wow.
details that we
So the
went into.
depth
That's
of the
just
chip
one.
would
That's just
determine
one
the light
example.
intensity. Yeah.
Okay, so I
You also have the
apologize.
same effect.
I didn't realize you were live streaming on Discord, so I just finally got that up on the recording. I had to switch up my OBS, but I caught the end of that. Is there anything else that you could show that is unique or?
But yeah, the armrest. If you can go back to the
Yeah, I
armrest.
never saw the armrest part. If you could show me the armrest part
Yes,
again.
we need to show that if you don't mind. The armrest, the window shades, the window opening, the glass panel door that opened down below, just all of that stuff is in here. So those,
Woohoo!
right, and then the window shades can be removed
Oh
and,
my
placed back.
God.
The
Yeah, but there's
windshield go up and
also,
down.
so for example, for this sunshade, we also made it like this. You can put it at the desired position.
Ah, and not just open and close. It's
Yes,
adjustable.
so you can, like in the real plane, you can put it wherever you want. So I mean, might be not that critical, but
It adds.
it's a,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you could please show the armrest. Also, you had the tray table fold out, which I just learned by watching your video that there's two flaps on this tray table.
Rep,
Yes, exactly.
I just learned that it's two flaps on this tray table. One is, yeah, look at this.
Oh.
So this is just for your actual meal table. So this is why we also have stains of coffee cups here. And if you open this one,
Wait, is a coffee
you
cup
have-
stain on there?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Top right hand
Oh
side.
yeah,
Can you
they'll
zoom in
be
on
on
that? Oh my
both
god.
corners. Mm-hmm.
See it? And it
It'll be
reflects
tough to see
differently
it though.
based on the light.
That
Yeah.
Yeah.
is crazy, yo.
So this is also
Right.
so you actually can see it's variating depending on the light.
Wow.
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah,
So
most of the
it's not
details
just
will
some
be.
flat texture. It's literally baked in there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the roughness map. Everything here has roughness map, so everything has a very special little something at certain angles. Like the joystick's gonna have your thumbprint where your thumb rest is.
Wow.
At viewable only again at certain angles. You're gonna
Right.
see it. It's gonna be. You're gonna have to put the camera in a weird spot to see it, but it's there.
It's
Wow.
there.
This happens everywhere, every single place. There's very specific attention to detail placed. Um, Another thing Rep and I discussed, similar to how the panel, how there's a dent in the panel that lights up, is how do we do the EFIS control buttons?
Right.
And how do we make it look like how do we have grunge and dirt go over a light, a green light that's supposed to shine through a button?
Hmm.
How do we pull that off? Well, Rep, if you go to the EFIS on the top near the autopilot,
By the way,
remember these buttons?
those were sneeze droplets, by the way, on the panel.
Wait,
down there.
where?
There's a lot of
A lot of COVID in this
rhymes.
plane.
So yeah, exactly. So here we've got the green buttons lit up. Rep, you're gonna have to zoom way in because of Discord compression.
Yeah.
There you go. Maybe even more. But how do we? There you go. So how do we get the green to look like it's underneath?
Or-
Right? Because we actually had one of these buttons and we destroyed them, and we with a hammer, and we like figured out how they are physically put together, and we
Wow.
built it in the sim how it's physically put together. Well, we
Wow.
have the button, so then I textured the button, and then we have the height details inside each of the 3 green lines. So those are cut by a machine. And then those light up. So we have that lit up. And then on top of this, we have the white arrow, which is a decal. And then on top of that, we have a very glass-like effect over the top of each of the buttons that has the fingerprint texture on it, so that the fingerprint texture goes over the green lights. Do you see that?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So it makes it appear as if the green is underneath the button.
Yeah.
And that is the level of detail where we went into with every single button. How is it made?
Versus the green is pasted on, on
Right.
top of the button. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
It would be very obvious, like, okay, the roughness is behind the green, like
Right.
the fingerprints are behind the green, so that throws it off, right? But we want it to be over the top of it, so that's another.
I don't cut you. Look at the
detail.
reflections of each individual green light above on the panel underneath. You see that? Look at above the buttons, the reflection of the green lights.
Yeah, that is a setting in your sim called ray marched reflections, and everyone has this option. You can turn it up and down, and it just throws that kind of look at certain angles, at 45-degree angles. If Rep were to have the camera not at a 45, the green would go away. And so it's just a sim thing. You can see it on the wing there.
There it is. I got you.
Yeah, so it's just a ray marched reflections setting.
One other thing I noticed that I wanted to ask about was if you go back to the nav turning button, where you turn the nav,
VOR nav button, right?
The VOR nav button down there. So where it says right now it's on arc. It's kind of hard to see it now, but it's not just a solid green light. It has kind of like some notches in it. Can you explain what that is, or am I? Is that Discord compression or something?
No, it's real. It's
You mean these
it's all
rings
part of it.
around it, right?
Well, that too.
No,
I didn't even
What
notice
It
that.
means
there's
inside the green triangle, Rep.
inside a green triangle, there are some parallel lines of
Yeah.
like where
Yeah,
they cut out. Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I was speaking before about
Mhm.
the engravings, So you also have the engravings here. So this is what you can see as these lines. And we also try to get it somehow. Also, when you
There it
see the
is.
light is shining through,
Mm,
but you can see the engraving.
that is crazy.
So that's what you were
And you
saying,
also
where the
can
light is
see here
actually
in the text
the
the
acrylic.
engraving.
Yep. Look at the
Yes,
arc. Yes, exactly. It's they use a lathe or some kind of machine to engrave it, and it's going to leave some grooves. But they're
Exactly.
microscopic, where you can see the microscopic grooves in the
Wow.
texturing in the modeled airplane. That is nuts.
Wow.
Absolutely. And from factory, you can see the round rings of the impression that's
yeah.
slightly there when you're putting the machine on it to cut it out. Wow, done. That's great. That is absolutely. Look, I want to applaud you guys for modeling a used cockpit, which is so much better than
Yes.
modeling a brand new looking untouched flight deck.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks. The flight deck is interesting in that the way I texture it is how all the materials are in the real airplane. So I know what's behind everything. And so everything has that to begin with. So that when I make the indentations and the chips come off the clock there,
Mhm.
it's revealing what's actually underneath,
Yeah.
just like it would in the real thing. And this is a possibility that you can do this
That
in
looks like a
Substance
couple
Painter.
layer of paint, by the way. Not just one layer. It looks like there's a couple of layers there too. The way
Yeah, it's just lots of hands reaching up and putting that to reset and run when you're taking off. The decal here is actually, this is an example of Rep has an old version of textures that you're seeing. So in the latest version, it's all right, Rep. In the latest version, we have this decal issue fixed, where the run and the reset looks a lot better. It looks realistic. That one is just the decals being displayed right on top of it. But
look at the park brake button there too.
yeah, lots of attention to detail. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what you said
But
about the fact that you know what's underneath these
yeah, I know what's
paints
underneath everything. Yeah.
is really, because a lot of times you just kind of see people just kind of dirty things up, right? Just kind of put some brown or dark smudges, kind of faking it, right? But in
Yeah,
this
I just
case,
have some panels from the real plane sitting right next to me here, so I'm able to know exactly how this works, how the lighting works, how the backlighting works, what the panel is made out of. It was sad when I took a hammer and a screwdriver to one of the panels to figure it out. But
Yeah.
the results of this lead to what you see right now. So
I heard you say it
again,
earlier,
It's the
but it's part of
same with
research.
lots of
these,
time.
and also with these light bleeding, it's the same with these knobs. So these knobs are actually
Correct.
also made out of transparent acrylic. On top, you have 3 different layers. So first of all, you have a white layer. After this, you have a black layer. And after this, you have this grayish bluish layer. And this is really, the black layer is to hide normally the light everywhere inside, so that even there's a gray layer on it, the light is not bleeding through this. But the more wear and tear you have on these, light will start to bleed through it, so
wow.
as
So
you
it's
can
safe
see
to
here.
say that this is basically a 1-for-1 modeling of the cockpit of an A380. Yeah.
Yep.
Kind of, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the screw detents, the dirt in the screws, the depth of the screws inlaid into the panel to secure it to the pedestal. If you go zoom in on a screw, you'll see that it's just not a picture of a
You'll be
screw
able to read the
at depth.
font behind inside the screw as well, if you maybe some other ones. But yeah,
Jesus.
you're able to read
Look at the dirt. Wow.
every font on every
Mm,
screw.
mm.
You should be able to read it all. So
Look at the
Wow.
scratch
Yeah, or
marks.
like on the rivets, you
The rivet.
also have text there. So
I gotta say, one thing I'm loving just in this little demonstration you guys are doing is that when in different angles and different, when the sun hits at a different angle, you kind of discover more. So like I feel like
yes,
when we
yeah,
and
so
other users finally get a chance to fly this aircraft, we're like, oh, this is really cool. But then as we fly it in different weather, different times of day, we'll actually notice and see more details that we didn't see before because of the lighting.
yeah,
exactly.
you need to be on scattered clouds or more. So the sim does not do a good job at all for lighting in clear skies. It
Hmm.
Ah,
just doesn't. It does a very poor job. Even with our A380, and I've spent so much time trying to get it to look decent in clear skies. It does look good when you're at altitude in clear skies because there's a different kind of hue, a blue
yeah.
color hue that gets projected. Um, but on the ground in clear skies, it looks pretty awful. But yeah, Rep, just don't use the clear skies preset. Just use scattered clouds when you're showing this, because it just looks so much better and you can see a lot more details
I
this
think
way.
I think you are used to seeing it. We're seeing it for the first time, and what we're looking at is mind blowing.
Yeah, I'm very
It
picky.
is
I'm
true.
very, very picky.
No,
As
So
you
you
should
know
Not
what?
be.
only you, Mike. So for me, it's also the funny thing is with Mike and me is we make kind of sessions where we just take the time to yell to each other
yes,
and being rude to each other just
very
by
mean.
trying,
Very, very mean.
yeah, just by trying to make a review of something, which can take 2 to 4 hours.
Hmm.
And in these 2 or 4 hours, mostly I'm just explaining, Mike, no, this is not correct. This needs to be like this. Then I find something to show him and to prove him it needs to be like this. And yeah, during this way, it's really, yeah, we are uh, kind of rude to each other, picky to each other. It's really like sometimes if someone
It's
else will
true.
join this conversation, he will think, what the is going on here?
Perfect team dynamics. It's perfect team dynamics. I love it.
I
But
do.
Love it.
I
it's
do
really
have.
like that we
No.
try to get something as we have to have it. And therefore, these sessions are so worth because we find the consensus which we need for something, and to have it like it should be.
Mhm.
Like you would expect how it would look if you sit there in the sim and having an 380.
Yep.
Because it's not like this that you just copy a picture and put it inside and it looks like this. No, the problem is the sim is behaving completely different than the real world. And you really need to find out the way how you can simulate how things are looking in the sim, but giving you the feeling it's real.
Yes. Let me just say that, this is a long haul airplane meant to be flown for hours and hours and hours and hours. And it would have been boring sitting here for hours with just flat textures and a few
Exactly.
scratches here and there. Having this and having the light change throughout your flight, if you start from morning till night, however long you're flying, and seeing new things every time as the user of this plane, it makes for such a more deeper simulation, in my opinion. And I appreciate you guys taking the time, yelling at each other and more to bring this to
Yeah.
us. This is good. This is good stuff. Yeah, we could go on and on and on about the interior. It's an A plus in my book. I mean,
I agree.
Thank you.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I know we're we're looking at time, but I wanted to ask you even more about, the sound and the exterior modeling. And I saw earlier you were showing some aileron movement and so forth and so on.
Actually,
Anybody?
before we
Go
go
ahead.
there, I have one more question about the like modeling and whatnot. So we're seeing how detailed you guys are going with everything, right? All the 3D modeling, and it's incredible. My question is, how is performance, and what are you doing so that users get a good smooth performance at the end of the day?
The thing is like this, that the performance thing has really different kind of things where it's related to. And what we really tried is giving a little bit more into the detail of the model itself instead of just putting 8K textures multiplied by 100 just to get the details. So we have actually modeled details a lot more, and to just having the GPU a little bit not stressed that much.
The other thing that we do is we take really good advantage of the UV maps. Remember, every object has a UV map, and the UV map is the texture, and those textures get loaded into your GPU. So the less textures we use, the better, right? In theory. What we've done is over time, I've learned how to optimize these textures and, you know, use less dilation on the pixels when you're exporting from Substance Painter, and this lowers the file size in total, and this will, as a result, be less of a load on your graphics card, and a, half the performance hit really on airplanes in flight sim come from the system. So when you turn that battery on, it makes a
Ah,
big difference, because we've loaded multiple A380s in, right? Because this is going to happen with other people when they're on VATSIM or whatever, and we're not seeing really any frame rate hits. It was really shocking when Rep and I started to load multiple versions of this in the sim, and it's because it's just loading the model and the textures. It's not loading the systems of the other airplane.
That's good.
And that's a huge
right.
difference. If you were to go into the main menu hangar in Flight Sim with the A380, I'm getting 100 plus frames per second on just a pretty
Wow.
standard, you know. But that doesn't say anything because the systems aren't running,
Yeah.
right? But the model and the textures are fine, even though we're using multiple 8K textures, multiple um, 4K textures. We're well above what is recommended in the SDK because we're pushing the limits. I think we have over 400 texture sets.
Hmm.
Well,
Um,
that
it's
explains a lot.
crazy. So
I didn't realize it worked that way. It's actually the system
yes.
behind everything that's causing the frame hit, not
Oh yeah,
specific the
absolutely. Yeah,
modeling
you
of it.
load in any airplane,
Yep.
Phoenix, PMDG, you flip that battery switch on and your frames are going to go down because now you're engaging the systems. Now
And
you're
it's
running code,
and
and
it's
the
processing
code
the code.
must be optimized. And for us, we have the best programmers in the business who use very well optimized code, and it runs very efficiently.
And that was
So,
just one of my
and
biggest concerns. Like, I was amazed by the initial video you guys posted, amazed even now going through looking at all the visuals and stuff like that. But I'm like, all right, well, this looks great, but are can people fly it, right? Are they going to be able to have a good experience flying it if they're flying at 20 FPS, or are they going to be? Is it going to be, uh, you know,
yeah,
scaled in a way that they can actually enjoy it and enjoy the textures?
it's yeah, it's I'm not supposed to talk about performance, but I'm not seeing any difference really between flying the A320 and this.
That was my next
So,
question, so we'll leave it
Great
at
news.
that.
Great news.
We'll leave it at
That's
that.
great. That's great news.
I mean,
Uh,
the thing is, you need to think about, okay, the A380 also is a little bit bigger, so this is also where you need to think about, okay, if we have, for example, then a version which will have a cabin, you need to be aware of, hey, yeah, you have a cabin with 600 Cs, it's taking a lot. I mean, you also can see on the Phoenix, you can turn on and off the cabin just to have maybe better performance because you are someone who is not taking care a lot of the cabin,
Yep.
And this is also what I have here at the moment. First of all, to say I don't have the latest system stuff inside, so this is why the screens are not properly at the moment, because for me this is a version which I'm using just for modeling and texturing. But even here, I mean,
I have my sim
true,
loaded up now, Rep, with the
mean,
latest version.
it's not like this that I have really stutters or something is really hanging on,
Yeah,
So
I vote for cabin can come later. That's what I vote
yeah,
for. Yeah, absolutely. Love to have a cabin, but
We've been voting internally on what we should do with the cabin, like whether to take it extremely seriously or not. And we've chosen an MSN number for the A380. And the MSN number, what that does is it provides us an exact, this is the A380 that we're using. Because there are many different A380s. Every A380 has different weights, every single one. So we have to choose one to have the weights correct so that our flight model guy can make the right flight model changes. Anyhow, we've voted on, we're currently voting on whether to use the refreshed version of the Emirates first class and all other classes version of the cabin, or to leave it realistically and use the older version of the first class. So we're currently in voting for that. But yeah, there may or may not be a cabin. There's no guarantees. We're looking into it.
No, it's awesome. That's just icing on the cake. There's something else, But we want you guys to stay heads down on this stuff and get it out. Cabin can come later. This is good. Speaking of flight model, how is that coming along? How do you get to tune that? Work with anybody you can say or not say, or how's the flight model coming along for this thing? Because that's important to a lot of simmers.
Maybe Davey might be able to answer this better.
Yeah, it's a complicated subject, in fact, because well, the deeper we go in the systems and so on, the more difficult it is to simply tune a flight model, because you have the physical like values, like the weight and all the aerodynamic stuff and things like that. But then on top of this, you have the I'd say the flight controls computers that must be tuned as well. So there are different layers you need to tune, and you need everything to work together. So we basically have to work on each layer, like make the weights correct, make the surfaces correct, and then you need to have the flight controls that are correctly controlled by the computers. So you need to because we simulate everything, like the fly-by-wire comments are simulated, so you have to tune those as well, and it's kind of complicated, and then on top of this, you have then the hydraulics that will respond to the comments of the computers, and that will have an impact as well, and that's something you probably never notice, but that's one of the thing in hydraulics I'm pretty proud of, is that we simulate as well I'd say the physics of every surfaces. So usually what you have in the sims is you move the stick, you have a position that is determined where the surface should go, and it just goes there. And if you don't have like pressure or something, you make something up like it's going there like slower or something like that. But in our system, we simulate the physics of every surface and every hydraulic actuator as well. So you have really something like the hydraulic jack is pushing on a control arm. This is physically modeled and in real time. So you are pushing the surface against the airflow. We compute the airflow as well, which is pushing back on the surface. And so even this will impact the flight model because it's all linked together. So like if you are happy with something, but the hydraulics are not tuned perfectly, then the hydraulic jack itself will have difficulties to just move like the spoiler up in the air because the airflow is too strong. So it's a lot of layers that you need to simulate, and that's probably the physics about the surfaces is probably something not much people know we do, but that's something we really do, I think, well, because we simulate everything like this. And we talked earlier about the droop. You can put the plane like upside down, and the surfaces will droop like up because the plane is reversed. So it's just physics.
There we go.
And and so everything will just respond to the hydraulics will really provide pressure to really simulated actuators that will really push on control arms that have a real position, like between the axis of rotation of the surface and the control arm. You have like a lever arm, which is computed in real time. The airflow will push on the surface, so everything is simulated. And like if you try to let's say we go crazy, and like if you are doing like a maneuver in the air and you are losing the hydraulics on that surface, you won't have the surface like go like neutral by magic. It will have to be pushed back by the airflow. So you might get unwanted uh, unwanted movement on the airplane because it won't respond, and you will have to wait for the airflow to push it back in place. And that's something you can already like feel in the A320. It's all there already. So
Yeah, it seems to me that you guys are taking a similar approach to all the different aspects of the airplane. So first we talked about the modeling where you know how everything is constructed, you know how everything is layered, so you can recreate that accurately and get the best effect you possibly can. And now with Davey talking about the hydraulics and the airflow over the wings, you guys are doing the same exact approach. You're just not just plugging in numbers. You have to take into consideration what it's reacting to and how much force and so forth and so on.
actually, if you like kill the hydraulics in flight, like in with the A320, if you kill the hydraulics for the aileron, for example, what you will see in other like paywers, you will see like strange things like they will go down like on the ground. So it's really strange. If you look at the Neo, you will see for the aileron, for example, you will see those go up
Right.
because there
Once
is
pressurized.
less pressure above them, so it will suck the ailerons up. So on your visually you will see it, and you will see those up also on the flight control page. And so this is all the same stuff we just ported to the A380. So everything
Right.
will react physically to the hydraulics.
A question about the hydraulics for the A380. Does it have a PTU as like the A320 or
Nope.
something different?
Nope.
It does not. Okay.
What is particular to that plane is that in a way it's simpler than the A320. It's simpler. There is less like strange things like the PTU, like the uh, emergency generator, which is a hydraulic on. It's an hydraulic motor on the A320. You don't have those. Even the rat is not hydraulic on the A380. It's just an electrical generator that is turning. Uh, and so, in a way, it's simpler, but there are like technical improvements, like the pressure is much higher. It's like using like 5,000 psi. So you have like smaller actuators, and also one nice feature is that you have no electrical backups, which
Ah,
means in the A380 you can kill every hydraulic and you still have moving actuators, because some, not all, but some of the actuators are able
there it is.
to be just powered by electrical system because they have their own hydraulic system, which is a unit system just buried into the actuator. So
Right.
the backup in that plane is electrical. So you have like teeny hydraulics that are run by electrical system, which is totally independent from the main hydraulics.
Right.
And
Did I?
we simulate those already.
I just want to
Wow.
say how beautiful those wings are. Gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. But yeah, I'm super impressed with the hydraulics and your description of what's going on in the background that we don't even ever think about. Modeling is
Yeah,
great.
and for people concerned about wing flex, this is all, this is all um this is all to go, very modifiable. Very you can easily make it the wings go up, 20, 30 more feet. It's not a problem. So
I hear you.
this is all being tweaked, okay?
Yeah.
The real A380, by the way, you watch any videos, like the wings barely flex on takeoff. Really,
Really?
it's hard for you to it's hard for you to tell from the passenger side, which isn't like exactly what simmers want. We're realizing, so maybe we'll make it go a little more than normal.
Here you go. So everything is just moving here, and what I'm doing is I'm disabling one the engine pumps. So you can see on the screen you have the pressure that is still keeping up, but the more pumps you are killing, the more difficult it is to the system to keep up with the pressure, because you have a lot of big big things moving actually. And so now for the green system you only have one of the 4 pumps which are running, and so you can see some are failing already. And so you can see everything depends on where it's plugged on the airplane, if it's green, if it's yellow, if the
Right.
computer is just changing for it to go on the backup electrical. And so all of this is simulated already. And so here I'm killing, like, you only have one pump
Yep.
over the 8 pumps of the plane. And so
It is.
it's really struggling right now.
Wow.
200 psi, 100 psi on the left side. That's crazy.
And now I just kill everything. And so don't try that on the A320. As you can see here, it's already moving. It's still moving because it's electrical.
But it can only provide so much.
Yeah, it's kind of sluggish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can go home, and that's what you want. And so that's why there's no like blue system on the A380. The architecture is different. So the backup is electrical here.
Yeah, I
I
was gonna
see.
ask about that.
Okay.
And so to be as crazy as the other guys, like modeling the screws, like the electrical actuators, small hydraulic system in them, which is independent, but they can like leak a bit of fluid. So they can have different thrill levels, and the airplane is actually able to like refill those from the main hydraulics. So you would have the computer that is asking for, it will detect there is some fluid that is missing in a small backup actuator, and so it will just open a valve and send more fluid to refill those actuators from the main hydraulics. And this is already simulated, so it will just take fluid from the airplane to go into the backup actuator. So those are the little like details we added, which is just useless, but well, when you go into maintenance and stuff like that, you will just see sometime like the reservoir will go like a bit lower. You will say, oh, that's a strange bug, but actually that's the computer that is refilling all the backup actuators.
Right. Blue captures a Repsol screen.
Yeah,
by the
I'm
way.
on
He's,
Repsol right now.
Okay, good deal. Good.
All
Good.
the
No,
rivets.
I'm loving the depth of the overall. Let's see, how should we put it now? The depth of details that you guys are putting into this particular aircraft. It's gonna be, I think, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, one of the most accurately simulated planes in any flight sim? Would you say so? That's where you guys are heading at this point?
We try to go like beyond what you would expect. So maybe in some like Class D simulator, you won't have stuff we added because it's useless for like pilot training, but we just added it. So if you can try to go like upside down with the A320, and you will see all the like the gauges of the hydraulic reservoirs go crazy because they are just floaters in the reservoirs, and they will go like up or down. I don't know what you want,
Right.
but you will
Right.
see the reservoirs go crazy because we simulate as well the fluid which is moving in the reservoirs. So the fluid will go like if you brake on the runway, the fluid will go to the front of the reservoir, and you will see this on the like on the display of the eCam, and you can already see that on the 320. Actually, that's something most people don't know about, but it's already simulated, and you will get this in that plane too.
Wow.
Definitely gonna try doing a barrel roll in the A320 now.
Nice.
For
Yeah,
sure.
don't try to go too long reversed because you have a negative G trap in the reservoir that will keep you running for some time, but at some point you will have a surprise.
Yeah,
Just
but
saying.
I was gonna say basically I mean, we saw how detailed you guys got with the visual, with the screws, the buttons, the smudges, and whatnot, and we're like impressed by that. But also on the hydraulics and system side and flight modeling and all that, like you also plan to be just as high fidelity, I guess you could say, in those areas too.
I can recommend something if you did not see it already. You can have a look at the gear swing video we did on the A320. It shows the gear is also like physically simulated. So every gear has its own weight, its own actuators, and all the sequence with the doors and the gears is all simulated. So you can have a look at this video, and you can play with the system in the A320, like doing like gravity extension, then go upside down and see that the gravity extension will retract the gear if you fly upside down and stuff like that. So we try to model everything, and if airflow is pushing the doors and the gears, so you will see differences in if you use the gravity
Wow.
extension or if you use the actual system. So everything is already in the A320, and we will in the end port all of those core systems in the A380 to get the same level of realism and maybe more. And that's what is cool about this.
No. Very awesome. Very awesome. Now I know the sound guy's not here, and but anything you can shed on the light on how you guys are getting the sounds for the airplane. That one video that you guys put out a couple of weeks ago, it sounded very good.
Oh yeah.
Anybody can elaborate on the sound and how it's coming along, and what's your process like for that?
I mean,
Well, the
for the
sound is.
sound,
Go ahead, Rep.
yeah, for the sounds, it's like this. It's kind of studying hundreds of hours on being on YouTube and finding something which is properly something usable, So for Boris, it's really difficult because even you have a video of a takeoff, you maybe have some noises which you don't want to have inside, like the cabin announcements or someone is speaking or anything. So it's really hard to gather these sources to take something off. But Boris is kinda the guy who is spending a lot of time just to finding out resources to gather some sounds of something. This is also, I mean, there are a lot of guys outside there who are, for example, on Instagram or TikTok. And then, I mean, Blue knows it. He already posted a lot of things of his work on the ramp.
Yeah.
Those videos are really essential because there you just may have the plain sound of how the engines are turning on or turning off. and then it's just getting these sounds, putting into place, and then getting other sounds to have a fluent transition between turning the engine on and off and everything.
Wow. So the good thing I'm hearing from you is that for the most part, or the most that you can, you're actually doing real sounds, real recorded sounds, no matter where you get them from, versus trying to create them in the computer. Is that correct? Like you're using less computer simulated sounds?
Yes, we try really to get the real deal. And this is, I think, for everything what we are doing, we really try to see how it's in the real and trying to copying the real thing as much as possible.
That's important. That's
Now Boris is the guy who does the sounds, right? So he's very smart. He knows how the Wise program works. It's a very complicated program if you ever looked at it. It's not free either, so you got to pay for the license for that, I believe. And it's kind of complicated. You'd think, okay, just take the engine to start sound, insert it here, but it's placing the sound with nodes in the sim, coordinating with rep, because rep has to put this little marker in the sim that the sound is attached to, and it has to be in the exact right place, and then that has to be coded. So then he has to be in contact with the coders who know how to hook up the sound to happen during this certain event. I mean, our workflow is fairly efficient there. That there's even been talks of, so when you turn the A380 on, when you press the batteries, okay, and you go watch any cold and dark startup, you'll hear these little clicks going on, click, 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 going on. Like, what is happening? It's the relays and the lights testing themselves on the overhead panel. And so, in theory, we could hook up each sound click to every single button because we have every single button modeled and every single button has its own node. So, in theory, that sound that you hear might not be just a pre-recorded sound. That is actually,
It's actually the sound of
it could be the sound,
yeah.
of each button, every relay. It's possible that we could do this. I'm not sure if it's done.
Right.
I don't think it is, but it can be done, and it's proof of the level of detail where we've gone with this.
I think
I
it
mean,
might
you
not
have
be.
it when you turn on the aircraft, that every push button you have on the overhead panel is making a self-test. So you can hear a click noise as it's doing a self-test. And our goal is really to have every single button from every different position making his noise, that he is making the self-test, and you really getting immersed by the sounds that if you feel a difference if you would be on the FO seat or on the captain seat, because then the sounds are coming from your left or your right side, just to have this immersion,
Yeah, that is one of those things that sometimes I wonder the amount of hours that go into making sure that each click, based on where you are, sounds as accurate as possible. I can't imagine the amount of time, And you mentioned something about using a software that's not free to create this, which leads me into, you guys are spending a lot of personal time doing this stuff. I mean, how is that for you? Is it just the dedication of just getting this airplane right, watching it fly? Do you guys spend time flying yourself on VATSIM in the simulator, or you have no time at all with real life and also doing this stuff? How is your commitment to this project going for you personally?
I mean, everything is kind of driven by your own pure motivation. And this is, for me, the best thing to work on is something, because you can decide, okay, do I want to make something today or not? If not, hey, it's my own decision. So, because if I have the motivation, or I feel like, okay, this weekend I want to finish this, it's really that you are driven by motivation. And my motivation already let me spend thousands of hours on this project. So I had times I came from work and just spend the evening to get something done. And this is really the time we are spending here is depending on your motivation. And I think this is making the difference, because if you don't want to do something today, hey, you can do it tomorrow or maybe after tomorrow. Nobody is forcing you. So you are every time going on this project with your own motivation. It's not something that you feel like, oh, I have to make this today. No, it's like, do I want this to make today? Okay, I do. If not, then I do tomorrow. This is really, really, really helpful.
Yeah, I was just saying I have just no time at all to fly in the sim. I just run it and test things I'm trying to implement. So with a real time daytime job and stuff, I just have no time to use it at all. But maybe when more features are completed, I can just sit back and enjoy. I hope.
Right, and not think about other things you can be doing on it too. Just enjoying it. Right. Yeah, go ahead, David. I'm sorry, Mike.
Yeah. So I was just gonna say my motivation to do the textures, it stems from absolutely from a personal kind of, I want to see the best of the best in the sim and see what we can do here. And then, it's not just showing up and working on stuff alone. Rep has been there a majority of the time while I'm working. Um, he's a good friend of mine. I've even flown out to Germany outside of work to go see him and to meet him in person. And it's just been very enjoyable to work with everyone on the team so far. Everyone's very professional and fun, and it's been a good time. So that's also a main reason why, right? You're not just working on stuff alone. This isn't like it's not like a job. It's more of a hobby. It's something that is fun for us to do, to work on our respective things.
I did want to ask a question on that same subject. What is the difference between this project and a payware project? Like, kind of explain why like why certain things are possible, why certain things are not possible because it's freeware, and also can you compare this to a payware project or can you not?
Oh, they're not selling this
So,
plane? No?
no.
No, so
No, the thing is, yeah, I don't, yeah, for me, the thing is like this. The biggest goal we have compared to a pairware product is there's no deadline, you know? So, and this is also making it a little bit not being able to compare, because for us it's like this. If we want to spend 6 months just to implement one small thing, we have the time, so you don't need to think about, we have a deadline, we need to be productive, and so on. And this is also, in my opinion, um, it will for sure, compared to everything else what you have there, even it's payware, even it's freeware, but people will compare it for sure. But for me, it's like you cannot compare it, because if you're making a payware product, you have a deadline. You need to be productive. You cannot spend 5 years for one product. You need to have some inflow, which I really understand. It's nothing where I say, oh, I don't like this or so. And for us, it's like this. We don't have a deadline where we need to sell it and to get the income from this. So we have the opportunity to take as much time as we want for something, and we can go as deep as we want to, because nobody is saying this part of the aircraft need to be done next month or this part of the aircraft need to be done in 2 months. So this is really kind of advantage we have, but understandable when you try to compare to payware, because payware, yes, they have their deadlines and they need to be productive, of course.
Yeah, at some point you need to make profit, you know. So if it's a pay where you cannot like pick a new stupid thing, useless that you want to implement, because there's stuff to sell, you know. So that's one of the advantage of the open source is you can pick whatever you want and do it. And so maybe it will take more time, but it's just like it's flowing like a river, you know. It will grow along. It will be slow at first, and you will have more and more stuff, and there will be no end. You will always add stupid stuff, but uh, at some point you will have so much stupid stuff that I guess it will be really realistic, you know. And you can try the most stupid thing you want in the plane, and it will react like the real one. Even if you know novice sim, you cannot have this effect because no one has the time to simulate like stuff that no one want to train with or no one want to spend time on. So it I'd say the problem is it takes more time, but in the end in like 1, 2, 3 years, I think you will have some nice A320 and a cool A380.
I got stuck creating one of the textures. It's tough for me to admit, I know, but I got stuck. And it was very difficult to create the leather material. Okay? And this is an actual leather in the real airplane. It's a fake plastic wrap that's very thin and it's stretched around um, objects that require the leather wrap. So we've we've spent a lot of time. So lots of time trying to get the leather right, and I couldn't get it right. So because this is a open source project, right, where we can reach out and ask for help, and so I did, and I asked one of the lead um, Japanese automotive manufacturer engineers to help me create this. And he has there's an ArtStation profile. And this guy, he makes, what I'm trying to tell you is the leather was made by the guy who does all the interior car materials for a major Japanese automotive company that I cannot name. But
Wow.
yeah, so it's very cool what we are able to do because it's open source, and all of any money that we spend on this project is visible to the public in on Open Collective. So
Yeah.
it's not like a mystery what happens or what we're spending money on. It's all there. It's completely visible, and that's another cool part about this project. And of course, the time, like everyone says, there's no rush. It allows us to spend crazy amounts of time. Like I've put little indentations along here, like stretch marks
Right.
along just certain parts. There is only, so I have also talked, there's only, this is totally off subject, but someone said there can't be any repeating textures, right? We don't want any repeating textures. That would be, you'd notice it, right? And
I know what
then
you're gonna
someone
say.
noticed,
I know
and
what you're
then
gonna say.
someone noticed, Rep is, he knows where I'm going with this. Somebody noticed on the real plane, there is a repeating texture. And I don't
Yes,
know if you guys can see it, but there is a repeating texture right here in my stream. It's
Yeah. The
Yeah.
left of the door and the right of the door on the right side.
yeah,
yeah,
because the
so
thing is
There it
like
is.
this,
these
It's
we
mirrored.
were thinking about the manufacturing, and we were able to find out the company who is actually producing this.
Wow.
And when we were looking on their website, you were able to see some samples they made. And then we spent a lot of time to comparing pictures because someone said it's repetitive. because
It's
the thing is,
repetitive right here on this on these
because
two on the waste bin and the
Mm-hmm.
oxygen mask. The leather texture is
Lines.
repeating. The lines are
because
repeating, and I
y-
had to go
then
back into my substance painter and change
yeah,
it to make it repeating because it was just funny.
Now,
It was funny.
for
It was
all
because
only
we were
intents
one
and
just
repeating.
thinking about how this is actually made, and the thing is like this is just you have a plate, and around the plate you have kind of foam, and on top of this foam you have this plastic lever, because the problem is everything in the cockpit needs to be fireproof.
Hmm.
right.
So therefore they decide to take some synthetic stuff, or not the
Using more of
natural
the stretch
leather,
Mm-hmm.
kind of marks
and
there.
then they are using for these flaps the same tool for getting the pattern inside, because the pattern is actually just pressed inside the material.
Wow, that angle looking through the veins of the boot is awesome.
I mean,
Wow.
look at the level of detail that I went into over here is just insane. I mean, down to the individual
Mm-hmm.
fiber
Oh
kind
my
of
gosh.
covers here
Mm-hmm.
and the the texture material that you could just almost like you could reach out and grab that
For all intents and
handle.
purposes,
It's
this
crazy.
stuff is real to me. I gotta ask you this question. Are you happy that Microsoft Flight Sim allows you to get to this level that you perhaps could not get to with P3D FSX X-Plane? Because I'm looking at this going, this looks real to the touch, like I could touch it. You know what I mean? Are you happy with the Microsoft system? You know, how thankful are you for the Microsoft system to allow the planes to look like this now? You know what I mean?
I
Um,
mean, you need to
very
think
thankful.
about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, the first thing is really thankful, but you would be maybe also being able to have this in P3D or an X-Plane, but the only difference is how the actual lighting situation is made and so on, because textures, PBR textures are there since decades,
Yeah.
so it's nothing new. But the thing is that MSFS, due to the engine they are using, is representing this in another way, and it's really beautiful. This is also why I went into this project, because I saw how much potential the sim has in terms of graphics and modeling. You know, I mean, it's not perfect. There are certain things where you think about, oh my God, why is it like this? Oh my God, you don't have ray tracing, but they try to get a little bit of ray tracing, as they had the space screen reflection, which is just working on a certain angle. But I mean, for me, in the visual appearance, the sim is, yeah, like you had it never before.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
there's other little things like that I noticed in real life. I'm fortunate to fly airplanes, and I was sitting in a jump seat, and I saw this color, this rainbow on the pillar, and I'm like, "What is going on?" In real life, right? This is in real life, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "What is going on?" This very strong rainbow color effect happening on the pillars,
Mm-hmm.
and so we've replicated that here. And I don't know if you can understand what
Oh
that
yeah,
is.
I think
What do
that's
you think that is?
the laminate from the windshield, I'm thinking.
From the windshield. Yeah. So the
Yeah,
Wow.
the
sun is
golden
shining through
foil
the
from
windshield.
the windshield heat.
Yeah. So the sun is shining through the windshield, which has the UV protectant, and the UV protectant distorts light, and the effect is seen right immediately close to the windshield. So you have this very rainbow purplish effect that is gets more prominent with more sun, um, and uh, less prominent as it gets darker. So it's very interesting what we've managed to to pull off with the sim. I mean, there's, like I told you, the list goes on of little details, but
That's freaking
I know you guys
crazy.
had a time limit here, so.
I'm just thinking that
Of course. No.
my initial flight is going to be
2
longer
hours
than I thought. Yeah, my initial flight with this airplane is going to be longer than I thought it would be, just because, I need to spend some time once I get to cruise going through detail by detail everything that you guys have done here. And I want to show that to the audience because, lots of people are just going to get it, jump into it, and have something to criticize just because it's flight sim and that's what it is. Being able to show someone and go, hey, listen, look at this little detail here that was absolutely not necessary, but it's in it. You can appreciate the amount of work and the level of detail that went into creating it. Look at the fold, how it pops up out of the tray. I just saw that too. You see how the back lever piece, that when you close it, it goes down flat and then sticks back into the cubby. Look at that in the back. And the door pops up too behind that. Yes, I'm done. I am done. Yeah, this is crazy.
Even details back here. I love this stuff,
Footrest pop down, yeah.
Wow.
It just the mechanism. I can't even imagine how much time you guys spent on a mechanism to get it to come
Physical
out,
LEDs
pop
as well.
up.
So Mike, show them what's behind the speaker mesh.
Behind the
physical
speaker mesh.
physical LEDs. So these LEDs actually light up.
You can turn it on with the knob.
I don't know because my latest version seems to be
Oh no, it should be there.
Goofed up.
You can turn it on.
It's all right. I'll show it in a second, Repsol. So yeah, you think okay, behind the speaker, whatever. We'll just put whatever. No, we're not going to actually model each hole being there because that would take up vertices, lots of vertices. So we'll just make it transparent, no problem. But behind here, we actually do have the speaker so that Boris can attach the sound node to the speaker mesh.
Oh, wow.
Here you can see.
There it is. There's the cone.
You see it hiding behind there.
Oh my
So
God.
it's there. And you can see the result of that is at certain angles. You can see it's there.
actually see
It's like,
through it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
you can see that speaker, and that's how it is in the real airplane as well. You can see it.
Oh, there is
So,
the baffle. Oh my word.
Yeah, whether it be even welds, individual welds that I did on all these. It's crazy. The glass is a whole nother ball game. We don't even want to get into that. That took forever to get right. But
I think we have just 4 or 5 layers of texture just for the displays.
Just for the glass? Wow.
Yeah, the displays took forever because we wanted it to be realistic in the sense that even if the sun isn't shining on it, you can still see fingerprints. If you guys have your phone laying next to you, look at it. Look at your phone; it's off. There's no, there's no sunlight shining on it, but you can see the fingerprints right on your phone right now on your phone screen. So we needed to have the fingerprints being shown even when there's no sunlight on it, and so
and when you have the sunlight on it,
figure out
you have also different roughness,
Right.
Yeah.
So
look at that
it's
right there.
a little bit more shiny.
Yeah. Even in the shadows, you could see it.
Yeah.
And in certain lighting configurations, it will become more or less intense. I will show you that now. So here's some crazy stuff. All right, so if we change the angle of the sun, great. But if we change how many clouds there are, you'll see it change as well. So it depends on how much the sun is being covered up. If there's no clouds at all, you can see the effect is rather dramatic.
Wow.
Yeah, and you also can see that from a certain angle you have this green or purple tint inside. So when you go on a steep angle, it's getting more greenish tint.
So yeah, you can see it's kind of green.
So that's the
Come over here.
LCD. Is that the LCD
No,
panel?
this is due to a anti-reflective coating you have on every screen,
Ah,
so that even the sun is hitting this, you are able to see it. So there's an anti-reflective coating, and this anti-reflective coating is looking like gold foil. So you
Yeah.
have at certain angles different colors in terms of how it's reflecting the light.
yeah.
This took Rep and I months to do.
But
To
you
get
have the
ready.
same on the windshield when you look from outside, Mike. You have these
Sure.
foil which is made for the anti-ice. This is also a golden foil. And when you are outside and the sun is hitting this from a certain angle, I think you go in the cockpit camera and you turn on the light directly on it,
Mhm.
and you change the angle. Mike, go in the cockpit
Yeah.
camera and have the
Okay.
sunlight on it. So
Sunlight on it.
turn off the clouds and have the sunlight on it.
Okay. This is not my favorite thing to do. Clear skies,
Yeah.
mind you guys.
And now go a little bit away, further away, and then going left to right. You can see there,
Yep. Oh,
Oh.
Yeah, it's a
and it's
it's a
changing the
very
tint.
yeah, it changes the tint. It's kind of
Hmm.
if I could go faster, you might be able to see it. And it's only on certain part of the windshield too. There's like a very sharp line. This is how it is in the
no,
real.
see it. I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
Anti-reflective coating.
Yeah, anti-reflective
You
coating.
guys thought of
But for the
There's a
everything.
couple
windshield,
of-
it's the layer for the anti-ice.
yeah.
As you see here, it's
And
getting
look
more
at the
green and green,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
look at the modeling detail here too, like all the way
The
into
door,
like
the window
whatever is
panel.
up in here. Like I had to
Yeah, Mike, tell him
out.
the story about the part number on the black part.
Oh, the part number. Yeah. So this part here, this piece here, it has some numbers on it, right?
Right.
And it's not random. So the numbers on one side have to be different than the numbers on the other side, and it's off by like 1. So there's like this one is 100 at the end, the other one on the other side is going to be like 101 or something like that. Rep
On
wanted
the
me
right
to
side, you have the 01. So it's
see, he
an
knows all this.
uneven number, so it's for the right hand, and the even numbers like 0, 2, 4 are for the left hand.
Oh, so
So
this one's
you
all
also need
zeros.
to have, yes.
So I guess when they're batch creating these, they're making left, right, left, right, left, right, and
Yes,
labeling it accordingly.
And Rep wanted me to not, he wanted me to handwrite this on using Sharpie and then put it in the sim. So that's what
Now
we
I
had.
see where the arguments came from between you two.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good.
so you see now the open source versus the payware.
Yes.
You see
Yeah.
where we can spend our time.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
crazy.
It is very crazy.
I think that's a
Absolutely.
good point. Like the fact that it's freeware, you have the freedom to spend time on little details like that that
Yes.
wouldn't really be cost effective, right? For a payware project.
There's that sun effect.
You
I
will
was
get
talking
fired, I
about.
guess.
Yep, you get fired exactly. You didn't come in on your
Or
deadline.
you wouldn't get paid for it.
Yep. Yeah, there's that reflection on the pillar, the center pillar
Yeah,
there.
so you can't really see it on that side, but with the sun shining on it, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real. It's a really, really odd thing to see in real life. I was shocked that it was happening, and then so I got some good photos of it and was able to replicate it here using the albedo channel. So
Nice. Yeah, there it is,
Um,
standing right there.
Oh yeah, I see
Yeah.
the rainbow. That's crazy.
yeah, lots of little details and stuff. I don't know where this airplane flew to, but I guess it went to the sand,
Dust. Yeah.
wherever the sand was.
So that
All
rainbow
of this
effect
is
is
modeled
not
from the real stuff.
that rainbow effect is not in the texture of the plane, but it's actually being cast through.
It's being
Window?
cast through the windshield, yeah, through the window. And then in addition, it is on the albedo channel. on the pillar, but it's magnified by the effect of the windshield and where the sun is on the windshield.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Gotcha.
So yeah, there is. It's very particular.
I must say that 99.999% of us who do flight simming will never get to go into an A380 cockpit. But if I ever do one day, I'm going to sit there, I'm going to smile to myself and go, yes, I know this cockpit inside and out, and I've never been in it before. And it's going to be based on this. It's literally going to be based on this. Earlier, you were showing a little glass door, a lower left behind the captain's seat. And I was wondering what that was some kind of pull handle for a fire extinguisher there. There's a door on that.
Landing gear pins.
Landing gear pins. Door. Look at the door. Look at the door.
Oh my gosh.
Look at the reflection of the door.
Yeah, that's just standard MSFS glass. I actually didn't even texture that. I think Rep did.
You got your power outlet. You got your European plug outlet and your US plug outlet, or whatever
There's
that
so
is.
many little kind of Easter eggs too hidden around here. No, that's not the future release date of the A380.
The original release date?
That's my birthday, actually, but
nice.
Wrong year. But yeah, there's like little things that you can put in all over the place, just to make it more fun. There's a lot of little hidden things here and there.
Look, I do a lot of training on my job for different things, and this would be like a perfect environment for what do you call it? A familiarization tour, of something. There's a seat.
Wow,
look at that. Yeah, that's crazy. Absolutely,
Wow.
I wanted to buy one of these chairs one day.
What's cool about it is like the way it kind of goes down here. You'll see what I'm talking about. You see how it picks up?
Yeah.
When it comes down.
Mm-hmm.
How it picks up from one spot and then the next spot moves.
Telescoping effect, yeah.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
Like
and
an
then
antenna.
of course it can slide back into the side. Eventually. There we go.
Oh my word.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, the seat stuff is crazy. Like the amount of details that
even now you can extend the armrest.
Look at that. Yeah.
So I can move it up and down.
Yeah. Show us the lettering on the other side where you were showing earlier. You can set up the seat positions on the other armrests over here.
Yeah, this armrest is crazy. The amount of stuff that it can do.
You can dial in your seat position when it's down.
So yeah, there's two different rotating knobs on here. There's the side knob, which will move it up and down. And we can animate this all later. The animations on this are actually paused, and then there's this one, which moves it.
And it shows the indicator on top.
Yeah, you can just choose your own setting. One of the pilots we were talking to, he always uses A9, which is the one that goes all the way down. Mm-hmm. And then we were discussing this with the real pilot. What happens, and we didn't even realize this, but what's supposed to happen here is when the seat is all the way forward, the white roller wheel, it's like a rollerblade skate, like the rollerblade wheel. It rolls up this thing here when you scoot the chair up, but we don't have this. We didn't know about this until recently. So the animations now are being reconsidered on this. Rep is going to have to figure something out that
it's a ramp.
Maybe when it gets to this point, this armrest is supposed to go like this or like move up on its own as it climbs up this
like a ramp.
So these are the challenges that we have yet to face. Right now, look what it does. It goes right into. But these are the challenges that we as developers we learn about from people who have real experience, and we try and replicate it to the best of our ability. So yeah,
that is awesome. That is absolutely awesome.
I'm literally speechless.
Yeah.
I'm literally speechless.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff in here.
I'm upset that side stick is not perpendicular to the edge, but That's
we're looking at
Airbus.
Yeah, they offset it. I mean, look. I don't know how Rep. How did you figure out what is the name of the animation in Blender that allows this to be like squishy? What is that?
So the thing is like this, there you are working
Metal.
with an armature and bones. So the actual mesh is linked to different bones. And as you are moving it, you need to give for certain parts of this part weights, how they are reacting. So for example, red would be saying, okay, you're reacting 1-to-1 with the bone, how it's moving. If you have bluish, then it's just 50%, or if you have green, it's not even acting. It's, Blender is really good of letting you getting trained to this easily. I mean, I don't want to know how many hours I spent on just looking on YouTube videos to understand how the things are working. But Blender is really intuitive, it's really more or less like you have so many possibilities, but it's not so difficult to implement add-ons or getting the settings like you want to have it.
Why do you think this is worn here in this section?
Because of somebody interacting with opening that door, the window.
Right, but what is interesting about like what finger on your hand would be in that area?
That's the ring finger.
Your ring finger.
Oh my God.
So your wedding ring, if you're married, so I guess a bunch of pilots are married here, it wears out the pedestal or the tiller. So yeah,
That's so cool.
Little details. Many. The list goes on.
Yeah.
Absolutely astonishing there.
The list goes on. So, oh, look at that! All this stuff is all.
I just want to say you guys have done a great job on this plane.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
I'm still speechless, and I know that when the community gets their hands to see this in their own simulators, they're gonna be blown away. I visually, obviously we're not getting a good look at what the systems are like and depth and whatnot and how it flies just yet.
Yep.
But visually, I think it's probably the most detailed, if not one of the most detailed aircraft visualizations I've seen in flight sim, period.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have about 30 A380s at LAX trying to leave.
What do you guys think this thing is?
A hand dryer.
This is back here. Okay, yeah, it's very similar.
Oh, is it
really?
This is actually, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard for you to guess because I had zero idea and I wouldn't even come close. This is
funny.
Yeah, Rep, you can explain. You guys tired of hearing me talk the whole time.
The thing is like this. Behind of this wall, you have a captain rest area.
Gotcha.
And in the captain rest area, there's a business class seat where the pilot can rest. And this cutout is made because they realized he has no space for his arm to rest on. So this cutout is made that the arm of someone who is sitting in the seat can be extended to the right-hand side.
Right.
Yeah.
Just to rest his arm better.
Wow.
So you're looking on the seat and you see a plain wall directly at the right-hand side of the seat when you would sit inside. But then there's just a little cutout that he can put his arm outside and to rest.
It's for your arm. That's
bizarre. Right. So a little, just rest your arm, your elbow area on that, just for a little bit more space for creature comfort. Oh, jump seat comes down. Look at that.
Yeah, table for a jump seat.
This is like this is the maintenance terminal.
Oh.
Not simulated.
Okay. So that maintenance
many real pilots know that when maintenance shows up, which every pilot deals with maintenance on almost every flight, depending on the size of the flight deck, the first officer has to get up and move out of the way for maintenance to sit down and do their thing. So the A380 is special in that the maintenance guy can just sit right here. He has his own screen. It's all logged. The pilots can't hide anything. All maintenance items are logged on the plane, and he can troubleshoot it using this computer in his own space. So that's kind of cool.
So it's really looking like a computer from 1995 or something, you know.
Yeah.
Because everything is hard and durable made. So
Right.
it's really, you have a notebook with a metal frame instead of plastic. Everything is made of metal. And he then can go into all the systems and everything if he has to make some changes or to check something about, you know. It's the same you have on the right hand side, the OITs. So you have
Oh
the
yeah,
same
the OITs.
accessibilities like the OITs.
Yeah, so we're in discussion. Like, why do we have two screens over here? You know,
two EFBs. Yeah.
because the real airplanes do. They have both, and you use each screen for different reasons. So the performance of the airplane is done using the OIT. Every airline has a different looking OIT. We cannot program this. We don't.
I mean, the OIT is
I don't
most
know
of
how
the
that we're
time
planning
looking the
on.
same. The difference normally is that the EFB is airline related. So you have everything airline related in the EFB, and the OIT is kind of the, like you have
It's
a
run on
server,
Windows XP,
you
right?
have the display. Yeah, it's yeah.
So this is like Windows XP on here.
It leads me to a question. How much would you say you guys individually have learned about the A380 itself just by starting this project or being a part of this project?
A lot,
Wow.
yes.
Oh yeah,
I
tons.
mean, it's like you were seeing several, or not several, thousands of pictures and videos about how this aircraft is looking. And then you really can also see the engineering side if you reverse engineer some stuff, you know. It's, for example, the nose landing gear, you have two different sets of doors, and the front doors are driven via hydraulic actuators, and the aft doors are made in a smart way, because when you check a picture of an 380, or maybe Blue saw this already on the ramp, the doors are close to the leg or the strut of the landing gear. And then when you are retracting the landing gear, the doors, the small doors, are going out. Then the landing gear is going in, and they are going inside. And this is just made with some mechanical linkages. So if you have an offset on the landing gear to the positive, then they are closing, then they are going to neutral, they are opening, and if they are going into minus, they are closing completely. And
Wow.
you are learning a lot of these little smart things they introduce or put inside the aircraft development, because you are more and more understanding why they are actually doing it in this way or in this way.
Wow. And speaking of which, you're talking about the landing gear and the whole linkage mechanism. Looking at the bristles on that speed brake handle moving aside while the rod is going through it. If you move that,
Yeah,
that
you
speed brake
actually
again,
have it. You see it here that we really animated these bristles, you know.
Yeah, look at the bristles move aside, and
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
yeah, look at that.
There's even dirt
Yeah.
sitting on top of it. It's
If you can move it one more
then
time
when you
from that
move it,
angle, we can see
pretty
it.
crazy.
Yeah, look at
yeah,
that,
when
Blue.
you move it,
The
you
bristles move aside.
That's crazy. That is so
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
This is good.
Flaps.
Oh, you
the
animate
flaps
the
are-
Oh, that's
yeah,
right.
you
That's
need
true.
to unlock it.
Hydraulics. Yeah. I heard that you animate the unlocking part mechanism too. But I did hear the hydraulics on that.
Yeah, when you put it on 1 or 2, you can hear the hydraulics.
There it is. Huh.
Oh.
Ladies and
I
gentlemen,
don't even
you
know
just...
if it. Oh, it's not even on. The airplane's not even like running
Yeah.
properly for it to even work.
Yeah.
And my version seems to be a little bit messed up. So, not surprising. All of this stuff is a work in progress.
I was gonna say
This
that...
is like hair and stuff on here too. What I was trying to point out in the video, we have like hair particles and stuff with shadows. That was a really interesting part to point out is how I pulled off the hair particles and other grimy stuff. It's pretty cool.
That is really cool. I mean, it literally looks photorealistic, to be honest. Like when you're zooming
It does.
in, like you were zooming into,
It
I
does.
think it was one of those little rolling
Yeah,
knobs,
videos.
and I was like, that looks like you literally took it from real life and placed it in the model.
I think it's from the KCCU, the scroll wheel.
Yeah, right there, that
this
one.
thing, yeah. Yeah, it's very, you know, a lot of attention paid to the colors, the different shades of black that's used, and the whites, and everything has to be like very particular because if the shade is off, then it can throw everything off, and it has to be balanced throughout the whole cockpit too.
Yeah.
So, like the color black on the throttle is different than the start switches, is different than each one of these.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not one color. There are shades being used. It's worn on the edges versus on the
Now show
top.
a little bit more from the bottom side of the RMP that you have the worn switches on the left side at the bottom. You or turn the light down and then you can see how turn the light down or turn it to the night and you can see it a little bit.
Oh, I see. He's talking about the missives on it.
Yeah.
So at nighttime, that looks cool.
That looks really cool.
Oh, it's because we have
the round switches.
We have some sort of integral light going on from outside the airplane. So the light is coming in from outside the plane right now.
Yeah, from the ramp.
I mean, I was just gonna say, like, you could literally take a picture or a screenshot of this.
Worn here. So yeah, and this is not just made up. This is all from real images. What buttons are being pressed? Which ones are more worn in? VHF and HF, those are the only menus that you're going to choose. You're never going to choose squawk menu really because you can put the squawk in on the VHF page and stuff like that. So other buttons aren't really used. All these switches, the wear and tear, which one are you going to use more? Takeoff config, of course, every flight. So that's going to have a whole bunch of, you see where I'm going with this.
Oh, yeah.
So
I do have, I don't want to keep you guys too long. I do have one more question from me, and that is why the A380? Like, you could have did the A330, you could have continued with the A320.
Oh, there's a nice story about this.
Hold on, why is the A380 so special to this project and to flight sim?
So there's a nice story about this because this happened already before I joined FlyByWire, but they actually had a vote between a 340, I think it was, and the A380. Because they were starting with the 320NX, but then more and more thinking about how cool it would be if we would have our own aircraft that we could make everything like we want, And then they pull up a vote, and this vote just won by one single vote that they are going to make the 380.
One
So
person
it's really
determination.
kind of, yes, exactly. So yes, it's just a lucky coincidence, but Yeah, they had the choice between the 340 and the 380, and just by one vote, we are here for making the 380 now. And for me personally, it's really like we are holding a piece of legacy of flight simulation in our hands,
Yes.
because a lot of people already tried to get this happen, and it happened somehow in a nice try way, you know. Some people were more into it, and you saw previews, but after this, say, it disappeared. So it's really for us that we decided, yeah, we want to make this happen for the people. I mean, it's over 15 years that people are waiting for getting this, you know. You see other aircrafts just developed way further or way later, and after 2 years, you see this already in the sim, you know. But with the 380, even after 15 years, it didn't happen that you have something properly in the sim.
Yep, I agree. I mean, I agree that this is an aircraft in real life that's almost retired already, short
Yes.
lifespan. And this is like um, paying homage to that plane that I didn't even, look at twice. Like, okay, it's an A380, it's big, it's huge, it can fly. But now you guys showing the details of this plane and how things are put together and constructed and what it looks like. I'm actually so drawn to it now. Can't wait to fly it. That this work, I think that you guys are doing is actually great, meaningful work, honestly, for the community or plane enthusiasts. This is good work.
Yeah.
This work is rewarding. Hopefully for you guys, but it is going to be for me to be able to have this and other people definitely.
Yeah.
So
As
congratulations to where you guys have been so far with this thing. Congratulations. Thank
Yeah,
you.
huge congratulations. I was gonna
Thanks.
say that I think this is gonna be an iconic aircraft release, and as you said, no one else has successfully really released an A380 in, like you said, 15 years. People, whenever you do a poll, a lot of times the community is usually gonna vote for an A380. Everybody wants to see an A380. They want a big wide body Airbus aircraft. And we've seen developers come out and say, "Yeah, we're making an A380," and then it gets canceled or it fails or whatever it may be, and it's pretty courageous. You know what I mean? That you guys took on such a massive project, and I think it's going to be a staple of flight sim from the day it's released until for generations, honestly. So I think it's a big deal. It's an important project for the whole flight sim. And I think another thing that's really cool is that Microsoft Flight Sim have, themselves, like Asobo has been doing a lot of focus on like kind of recreating retired aircraft, like helping the legacy of these planes live on. And I feel like you guys are fitting right in with that idea of creating an A380, which does still exist in life, but very few airlines are flying it anymore, and it's like you said, it's being retired. So it's because you guys are basically helping it the legacy live on afterwards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so too.
for me it's really like it's what the community deserves, because this aircraft is made by the community. We are all just members of the whole community of flight simulation, and therefore I don't see that you can say, "Oh, this is made by Fly-by-Wire." No, this is made by the whole community,
Mm.
by the people who are coming to us, helping us, and also with the donations, you know. So everyone of the community can be part of this. And I think this makes it also that special, because you cannot really say this is made by Fly-by-Wire. No, it's made by the whole community, and it will be later on, even after we release it, also getting further developed by the community, because everybody can be part of this because of this open source project.
Mm.
So anyone who say, "Hey, I have an idea to improve something," is really welcomed here to help us out. That you have the possibility to raise your hand and say, "Hey, can we do this? I have an idea how to make this." please come to us and help us.
Mhm. So basically, Fly-by-Wire is the community.
Yeah.
It's a part of
in
it,
a
yes.
way, it's yeah, it's made up of the community.
That's amazing.
Oh yeah. Oh
That is
yeah.
amazing. Well, thank you guys so much. Seriously, like it blows my mind that you guys do all this for free. Like I can't comprehend
I
thousands
don't
of
know why.
hours,
No, I'm kidding.
thousands of hours you
Right.
guys put into this thing.
I know.
And I mean, I know you guys, the project takes donations and whatnot, but like I said this in our video when we first reacted to your video, was that people would pay a lot of money for this plane. Um, I know I said I had my last question, but they keep coming. Last one is, I'm not sure if you guys can even answer this or if you guys are the right people to ask this, but are there any thoughts or plans on, beyond this project, considering doing an actual payware project? I guess branded by FlyByWire or even branching off of something else, anything like that. Just, speculating in the future.
Never,
Never.
really
No.
never. I mean,
It's
this
not
is
the spirit of it, yeah.
we never really thought about it in this way because it was like we know that everything we are doing is voluntary work.
Hmm.
So it's not like this that any one of us is coming here and said, okay, I make this and maybe I can get this from this. No, it's just that we were thinking about, we put this out as freeware because a lot of people tried, they failed, everyone is waiting for it, and we can take our time for this as we want, which is helping us a lot to get this high fidelity we have. And we never thought about maybe we make a plus version where you can pay for and you get some extra. Never. There were never these thoughts. I know, like High Performance Group, how they did it, which I don't want to say it's negative or anything. I like how they made everything.
Hmm.
It's perfect, yes. But for us, it was never these thinking about, okay, we make this and the next thing is then payware or something.
Right. My mind is blown, and just the heart you guys are having for the community. It's almost like a nonprofit in a way, where you're like, are you doing all this work? You're not trying to get paid for it. You're not asking for anything. And again, it's the community, right? So the community is helping create and build these projects, the FlyByWire 320 and 380. And I truly believe that each and every one of you guys who are a part of this project, that I don't think you even need to ask for money, right? I don't think you need to ask for money or ask or make it a payware, because your skills and your art that you guys are creating here, like all the systems, everything you guys are doing is creating experience for, I mean, if I was a PMDG, if I was some other developer trying to create a plane, I would hire you on the spot. I'm like, yo, I know you're working on the fly-by-wire, but how much can I pay you to make my cockpit for this other plane? You know what I'm saying? So I think that opportunities like that are going to come because of what you've learned and what you've done here. If you're open to those opportunities, like I know you guys all have real, I shouldn't say real, but you all have other jobs that you do. So yeah, it's gonna be paid forward back to you guys for sure, man. Thank you guys so much for blessing the community.
Just thank you real quick for taking the time to show the details of your work that when this plane gets released might get lost in the shuffle, but the time that you guys spent putting in the extra detail that weren't necessary, but now I'm looking at it going, it's important. I appreciate you guys showing that off so that we can get it out and we can go, listen, don't just look at this plane skin deep. There's a lot going on under here, layers and layers and layers of it. So I appreciate you guys for taking the time to even showing this off to us.
And I can't wait to see this on my 4090.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, you will.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
this is what you've been seeing is just this is a 3 or 4 year old computer,
Oh
you
my
know.
God.
So
Nice.
And it's
this is
smooth,
running
man. I
just
know the
fine.
systems are not
So,
on, but it's smooth.
and this is all on ultra too. Everything's ultra because I do textures, so everything has to be on
It
ultra.
has to be ultra, of
Yep.
course.
Right.
Yeah, it's doing like 40 plus FPS. So
Oh yeah,
no problem.
nice. Good job,
Yeah, well,
guys.
thank you all for the kind words. Thanks for having us on the show. We'd love to be back here when we have even more to talk about.
Please.
There's a reason why we're not showing avionics and stuff yet. Obviously, it's all being worked on.
Mhm.
But if Davey is any proof that these systems are going to be pretty crazy.
Oh man.
The folks that are, we have folks that are divided into each section. So we have a hydraulics guy, that's Davey, but Davey does other stuff too. But what's nice about that is that the systems are being the attention that's paid is an entire person's attention. So I have full confidence in our team that this year will be a year of really nice progress with respect to avionics. We've shown what we can do with the model and with textures, and we look forward to showing you guys what's up next here.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
If
for me
you're
as
being impatient, yeah, if you're really being impatient and you want to see uh, more details, you can still use the A320 and try a lot of stuff in the systems, like the failures you probably never tried,
Mm-hmm.
and see how it goes, and maybe it will help you to wait, knowing that you will get the same kind of things in the A380. So
You know,
feel free to play with stuff in the A320. It's already kind of really detailed about the systems, so you
Yeah.
can already discover stuff of the A380 through the Neo.
nice.
you need to think about that the A32NX is the early access of the 380. I mean,
Mhm.
everything
Yes.
what you can see there inside, you will also can expect on the 380, and it's really where I want to say thank you to everyone on the fly-by-wire team who were bringing up all the stuff for the 320, because this is our base, which we can use in the 380, and they spend over millions of hours, everybody together, to get the 320 and X how it is, and to have the fidelity of the systems how they are. And yes, of course, this will affecting the 380, because you can use those systems in a different way, but the base itself, the complete Airbus logic behind it, and as we improve the 320NX, we are also at the same time improving the 380, because it will have direct influence in what we can do on the system side of the 380.
Yeah, awesome. So they just get better and better in tandem with each other. You know, one system here that works, you can transfer it over to each plane back and forth. That's good. That's
Yes.
awesome. Awesome system you guys have. Definitely. It's a blessing, man. This is good. This is good stuff. Absolutely. Absolutely great stuff. We can go on for hours, I'm sure. And that's why we're inviting you guys to come back
Yeah,
and
I
show
was just
off
thinking that.
anything
I
you
was like,
want.
there's
Show
so
off
much.
anything you want to talk about, spend as much time as you want in detail. We'll try to present this to the audience just to let them have the reactions that we've been having, me and Blue, because I'm watching Blue on the video going, yeah, his mind is blown. I can tell right now.
I'm maxed
So
out,
is
bro.
mine.
I'm maxed
So
out.
you guys are way above and beyond what I even anticipated or expected for this plane, and this is awesome. I appreciate you guys,
I'm
definitely.
blown away
So,
too. I mean, when I see the 3D model,
Yes.
Is it new to you too?
so
I
for me,
know it, and I'm still blown away.
Yeah.
the most important thing is that to let the community know why things are taking their time, because they deserve in somehow way or in some way to know, okay, where we are at the moment, why things are taking that long. And it's really difficult to go in each comment from people who are answering on videos or being in our Discord channel and explain to them why things are taking that long, when they are asking about, oh, how far we are or so on. If people are asking this, it It's not like this that we are, not again. It's really about, it's difficult to make it understandable why things are taking so long. And I think the media, like a podcast, is a good way to give an answer to the
Yes.
community,
Yes.
to explain them why we take several months or years for something. It's not like this that we can make something within a year and it's done. And therefore, I really hope that people can understand our side to know, okay, this is really, the reason why something is taking that long.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I get the question on every single stream. Hey, when is the A380 coming out? Do you know when it's coming out? I don't know, but now I have an answer to say it's going to be worth the wait whenever it comes out. And I could tell you, here's Exhibit A, what we talked about today. So I have a definite answer for everybody who asks when it's coming out, and
Yeah.
it's going to be more than worth it. So yeah, thank you.
I think
You're
too,
right.
as well as from our perspective as people who don't do any development, when a developer says, "Oh, it's going to be a year," to us that sounds like a long time, right? Because we're excited about it, we want to fly it, we want to try it out. But what we don't realize is just how long these things take. Like you said, you took a few months just to do the glass on the display screens. You know what I mean? That's almost a quarter, or that's like half of a quarter of a year. You know what I mean? So, and then, I mean, we haven't even talked about the coding side of things and how long to write the coding to do all these things that are being done. So, a lot of details being done. And like XP said, it's definitely going to be worth the wait. So I'm really appreciating all the time you guys spent. And the fact that you can tell it's a passion project. You actually care of how it turns out. Like, you're not just rushing it just to get it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, kind of a good comparison. There's no corners being cut, right? Is there anything you guys want to say lastly to the community as a goodbye or anything like that? Anything you guys want to say or promote?
Join us.
Join us.
Help us, and you will eventually get that plane.
Yeah, right. If you want it faster, come help.
There you go.
Exactly.
Right.
This
That's
is
good.
being worked on by certain people, right? We use GitHub, and so everyone who does have access to the A380 has their own version of the A380 that they're working on. And then once they merge their systems, like Davy's got his own version of this airplane with the hydraulics working. And so when that gets merged into the master version, then everyone can download the master version. And so that's kind of how it works. But if you want to work on the A320 first, and then we'd be happy to have you on the A380 if you're familiar with our workflows. Our website, FlyByWire.com, has very easy tutorials on how to download the GitHub repo, how to get started, how to make your own branch. It's not too difficult. These sound like coding words, but if I can do it, you guys can do it too if you're interested.
Wow.
So yeah, that's how it is. So join the Discord, go on our website if you're interested in helping. Reach out to one of us. Reach out to myself, or Iceman is our leader. You can find him in the Discord once you join. He'll be right up on the side, and you can message him directly if you're interested in joining the team. Thanks so much for listening to us today. That's all I got.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've just heard from Mike, Davey, Repsol, just a few of the developers working on the FlyByWire A380, and I am still coming down from a high of looking at the actual product that they've been working on. I get so many questions about when it's going to be done, when it's coming out. I'm telling you guys right now, give these guys time. Actually, you're going to want to give these guys time to do it when they can, how they can, as fast as they can or as slow as they can, because what we've seen so far is just a next level plane. I'm going to call it right now. It's a next level plane for the flight sim community, Microsoft Flight Sim. It's going to be great. It's going to be good. And I'm so excited. I'm even more excited now than I was at the beginning of this podcast. So I appreciate you guys joining the Blu-XPerience. We'll be back with more content to go throughout the rest of the year. You'll get the full episode on Spotify, on all the podcast platforms, and also on YouTube. and some snippets of it as well to do. But thank you, Blue. Thank you, the Fly-by-Wire team, for being here with us. Absolutely appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys in another one. Take care.
See ya.